see, this is the home page, and in this home page I clicked on bank manager login, and I clicked on add customer. I entered the data and I clicked on add customer, but the scenario has not been completed. But up to the execution part, what we have been recorded, that will be executed in the programmatic part when we are going to execute. But if the scenario will get completed, we are going to see whether the script is completely passed or failed. So let us check with that first. Okay, yeah, let me open the script. So this is how we mentioned some sample things here. Right now, first let's start with the initial thing. I'm going to clear these values. I think I have a script with only URL. Yes, so this is the basic thing. Okay, so as we know that we need to have at least one configuration file and at least one specification file in order to design the protractor script. Without those things, we can't able to run, we can't able to design even the single script. Even we can't say that that is a protractor script. So that is the reason we are going to concentrate more on specification and configuration file. This is the specification file, spec file. Let us see how it is going to work out. So in the specification file, there are few things that we need to know. As we discussed, like we need to talk about the individual things in order to design the script. Here the keywords describe, it, browser, we are going to concentrate more in this particular program. Expect also. Yeah, first thing, describe. So make sure that by using this particular comments only, we are going to design the script. These are very important. That is the reason we are discussing about this keyword, describe. Describe is a keyword which contains the complete flow of the program. The keyword which which is used to log the complete end-to-end test flow. The complete end-to-end test flow. Describe will be used in order to design the test case, which is from starting point to ending point. Basically, it is the keyword from Jasmine framework. Basically, it is the keyword from Jasmine framework. Next thing, it is just one comment I am going to explain. No need to concentrate much more on how it is going to be like that. So let us understand what is described, what is it, what is browser, and what is expect. So it is also the same thing. It is also the keyword from Jasmine framework only. It is also the keyword from Jasmine framework only, and it will contain the test steps and the scenarios what we are going to have in our functionality. Here we are talking about end-to-end high level flow. What is the flow of the particular functionality? Let's say, for example, I want to test Gmail login. So describe in the sense it is nothing but Gmail login. It in the sense what are all the steps that we are going to follow inside that particular test case is nothing but it contains. It block contains the test steps or scenarios. Single or multiple scenarios, if any. Single or multiple scenarios, if any multiple scenarios are there, those are going to be mentioned in the it, mentioned in the keyword by using keyword it. And next thing, browser. Here we used browser.get, browser.driver.get title something. So let us see browser.get. What is this browser.get? Browser is nothing but whatever the browser that we are using. For Protractor, default browser is Chrome. Get is a method from Selenium syntax. Get is a method from Selenium syntax. By using this browser.get keyword, Selenium syntax will pass the information to the protractor to open the specified URL. Why? Because the main keyword that we need to consider here is get. Get includes everything which is having the URL. I hope you understood this point. Browser is nothing but it's a simple browser what we have installed in our system, but get is nothing but it is the main master method what we need to concentrate more. So this is a Selenium syntax or Selenium keyword. By using this format, Selenium syntax will pass the information to the protractor to open the specified URL. Browser is nothing but the browser installed in our system. Get is nothing but it is a Selenium syntax. By using browser.get, Selenium syntax will pass the information to protractor in order to open the specified URL. So let us stop up to here, and we'll start this execution part from the command prompt. First we'll see how it is going to be executed from the command prompt, and then we'll slowly increase our execution part through command prompt ones and Eclipse ones and all. Today we'll start with the comparison between the keywords and the text fields and the click buttons and all, and then we'll start the execution from here. Okay, so this is the program onespec.js. I have program ready onespec.js and configuration file. I'm going to change the name of the program onespec.js. I save this program. As we know that the execution steps. First, start Selenium WebDriver manage. So I'm going to start it here. Windows R CMD. So to start Selenium WebDriver Manager, we need to go to the path where that has been installed. I'm going to open the path. In every system, this path is the common system. You need to go to the C drive users and your directory, and here app roaming.npm. Here you'll find out WebDriver Manager. So I'm going to copy this path, open command prompt, cd space, path needs to be mentioned. So now it is going to hit the path what we have been mentioned. Now start the Selenium WebDriver hyphen manager space start. If you observe this one, So you are going to see the local URL which is going to start execution part. So the running on port number 4444, what means nothing but the local port has been started. Selenium server is up and running on the port number 4444. Now open one more command prompt. Open one more command prompt. Go to the path where your files has been saved. So on the desktop, test files is my folder name. I'm going to copy the path again. Open this new command prompt. CD space, right click, paste. I opened the path. Now execute the script. Protractor space conf.js. So because conf.js is my file name here, that is the reason I mentioned conf.js. I am going to click on enter button. The execution has been started. It is going to take few seconds to open the browser and all. Yeah, running one instance of WebDriver starting Selenium standalone server. The browser has been opened by default Chrome. Why pass this URL? Let me check the URL. Oh, sorry. I'll change this one. So this is the application we took, right? So I'm going to mention this one, and title of the page will be banking app. Someone told me that it is up to, somehow they mentioned. I'm going to execute protractor space conf.js. One moment, guys. So I need to go to the path. Protractor space conf.js. Shutting down Selenium server. Why? So actually the script has been passed when executed. So that is the reason even I shared the same script to you. But give me a moment. I am checking this path. CD space. This one. WebDriver hyphen manager space start. So cd space git title protractor space conf dot. So the name is wrong here. Yes, the name is wrong here, what I have mentioned in the file. So that is the reason it throws me an error. If you observe this particular script execution part, deprecation warning, some directory has been opened, and once the directory has been opened, it launches one instance of WebDriver, which is nothing but in the Chrome browser, starting Selenium standalone server. By default, every action will be handled at the backend, so we are not going to bother about that because already Selenium WebDriver has been started in one command prompt. So that is the reason Selenium standalone server has been opened by default by this program. Once that has been done, the script is going to be executed. Once it has been executed, it is going to calculate how many specifications are there in the file, how many spec files are there. There is only one spec file. If there are any failures, it is going to display 0 or 1 or 2. How much time it took to complete the execution part, it is going to display, and then it will shut down the Selenium standalone server after the execution is going to be completed. Now once it is shut down, zero instances are running, because if there is any count here, then that is a issue that should not happen. One instance or two instances should not happen once the Selenium standalone server is shutting down. So that is the reason, please make sure that you should have zero instances once the Selenium standalone server is shutting down. Here Chrome browser, we have been executed only one script that has been passed. That is what we have mentioned here. And let us see the remaining part also, so that we'll complete that concept what we need to discuss here. Text fields and drop downs. Here basically in this particular application, the scenario what I am trying to follow is, first I'll navigate to this application and click on this button. Click on this button. Once I click on this button, again I need to click on add customer button. Once I click on this button, automatically this page will populate these three fields, and again I need to click on add customer. Once I click on add customer, automatically the data will be displayed in customers portal here. So this particular case I haven't recorded. Up to data entry I have been recorded, because first we need to understand how we need to pass the data to text field, how we need to pass the data to drop down, what we need to capture, how we need to concentrate, all those things first we need to concentrate. So that is the thing. I have designed the script on buttons and text fields. Let us see. I think everyone knows the process flow what we are following in Selenium WebDriver. In order to design a script or functionality, we need to have some test steps or manual test cases. If we don't have manual test cases or steps, we are going to have some high level note on the steps what we need to follow. Okay, uh, open the browser, pass the URL, click on bank manager login, click on add customer, enter required data, click on add customer again. Here, first ignore the last point, we will discuss it later, but concentrate more on these things what we need to perform here. So generally open the browser is nothing but in Selenium WebDriver we are going to use system.set property, so and so path we are going to mention there, WebDriver driver is equals to Chrome driver. But here in Protractor, to open the browser we have two things here, we need to concentrate two things here. One is capabilities, second one is did we use the keyword browser or not in the program. These capabilities will be used in config file. This browser related management, like we are managing the browser, right? So these things will be used in spec files. These things will be used in spec file. In config file, the capabilities related to the browser, we are going to declare whether we are going to execute Chrome or Firefox or whatever. So by default, remember that initially by default it will take Chrome browser only. Protractor will default to Chrome browser. As we have Selenium WebDriver, some defaults to Firefox browser, like Protractor defaults to Chrome browser here. So here capabilities we are going to mention it in a config file, and browser we are going to mention it in a spec file. So let us see how we mention these capabilities in config file and spec file. So this is the config file. If you observe here the capabilities point, we mentioned that the system is capable to, the application is should capable to handle the browser name Chrome. Here the browser name is, we are specifying the browser name by using the keyword browser name. N should be uppercase and Chrome all are lowercase letters. Here we are going to mention the browser name. Like in Selenium WebDriver, we are not going to provide the paths, we are not going to provide the Chrome driver.exe or something like that. Just we are going to pass the simple name called Chrome here. So once we pass these capabilities, based on this, whatever the browser that we have been mentioned here, the system is going to execute, the Protractor is going to execute. But to execute that particular script, we need to have specification file. The specification file is this one. In this specification file, as we know that this particular describe and it function, it particular keywords, we discussed just now about these two things. But apart from this, I continued the same program with the page title and I have clicked on the buttons and so on. So if you don't want to compare, just you can remove this statement, automatically the comparison will get stopped here. Here let us discuss about each and every keyword. Browser.get is nothing but to open the URL. Whatever the URL that you have been specified here, that will be executed. That will be executed. And here there are two ways to represent the URL. One is this direct format. Second one is through base URL, as we did in framework concept. Like we are going to create one class file, we are going to specify the URL over there. If we have 10 scripts, in all the 10 scripts we are going to maintain with the keyword base URL. Once we change the URL in the class file, automatically these 10 files will be updated with the updated URL. That concept is somewhat different. Right now, let us we are starting with the basic things, right? So I have mentioned the URL directly here, browser.get URL. So this is the URL, directly it is going to navigate. Here expect is nothing but it is assertion and it is one kind of promises, but I can't say this is completely a promises, but it is one type of assertion where it is going to validate this particular expected thing with browser.getTitle. what is this browser.getTitle means? It is going to capture the title present in the browser, and it is trying to validate this particular title with this expected title what we have been mentioned here. In between these two things, in between the expected value and and the actual value, the keyword we used is to contain. We are passing an instruction, you should contain so and so text, if not, throw an error. So that is the reason to contain is the keyword we used in order to compare the result between the actual value and the expected value. Here the expect is the keyword, like comparison or like assertion what we have been used here. Expect is the keyword. Expect browser.getTitle means it is going to capture the title of the title present in the browser. To contain means the expected value should contain so and so text, we are going to mention it there, so that it is going to compare both the results and it will give us the output whether the script is being passed or failed. Again this is going to be failed, that is the reason change the name. Spell mistake is there, that is the reason previously we got failed. So after that we updated the spell mistake and the script has been executed. Now click on bank manager login. So this is the point we need to concentrate more. How we find out the locators, how we clicked on bank manager login, what is the locator or element that we took over there, what is the finding that we have been observed. Let us see now. Click on bank manager login. So before clicking on bank manager login directly, analyze whether it is a button or a text field or a link or something else. By seeing that particular thing, we came to know that that is a button. But sometimes or in some application, even though that particular object looks like a button, that will be implemented in the hyperlink. So be have a look into that whether it is a button or hyperlink. So right click on this particular object, go to inspect element or inspect in firepath. I'm navigating to inspect element. I came to know that there are button. This is a button, this is not a hyperlink because the tag name starts with button itself, and it is having a class called btn hyphen primary, btn hyphen log lg, and ng click. Here we have multiple parameters to concentrate more on the object analysis. Here always button means we are clicking on the button, we are performing some action. The action is nothing but click. Basically if the action is click, we are going to see the annotation, we are going to see the locator name called ng click. If that particular object is having the option called ng click, the format or the syntax to define or to click on that particular button is this one. Anyhow element is, we are trying to find out single element. By is the keyword, on what basis, on what via what is the keyword we are going to find out the element. Css is nothing but that particular web page cascading style sheet. In that sheet I have an option called ng click. I have an option called ng click. What is the value included in that ng click? Ng click is equals to manager is the value. Manager is nothing but this particular bank manager login. So for this particular button, they have implemented ng click locator with the name manager. We use the same thing here and we placed it like this, ng click. And we close the braces and we are performing the action. What is the action that we are performing? Click. That is what we have mentioned here. The same thing, once we clicked on this button, immediately the next page has been loaded. Here do we need to mention the wait command or not? Because the page is loading, right? We haven't mentioned any commands, we haven't mentioned any wait commands here. Then how it is going to control, then how it is going to execute the script? Here in the protractor, one advantage is there. By default it will consider the default time in the back end. It will be 30 seconds or it will be 10 seconds. So maximum it will be 30 seconds only. So by default timeout will be there. We are not going to concentrate much on the timeout what the default it is having. But here, are we controlling the page or not is our main thing, main concept. I clicked on bank manager login. After that, I came to know add customer button is there. One more button is there. In order to enter the data, I need to click on the same one more button again. So let us find out what is the next thing. Add customer. For this add customer also the same thing. I have button. This is a button. Class btn log tab something. Ng class I have. Ng click I have. Here, remember that the easy way to different ways we can locate using css. Yes, we have still model after this. So in today's session we are going to talk about click and model only. So different ways means on daily basis, drop down one css, like that we are going to concentrate more. Yeah. So add customer. So add customer button is there. For this button also we have ng click. Ng click add cust open braces and close braces for that particular button. So if we are going to concentrate more on this particular ng click, with wherever the buttons are there on in the system, try to capture ng click. If you have ng click, almost every button will have the same option ng click. Without that, no buttons will get created. So we are sure that ng click will be there for each and every button. So take that particular locator and place it here as we discussed, like this. Ng click add customer. Ng click add customer. I hope you understood this point till now. Let us execute up to here and then we'll pass the information in the next script. So let me take this one. Complete script. I'll copy the same thing in to spec. Okay. So I'm going to delete this one. I'm not passing any data now. Just I have entered into the application, verified the title, and then clicked on bank manager login and add customer login. So maybe that has been shut down. So we need to execute it one more time. We need to start the WebDriver one more time. So I'm going to start cd space, yep, WebDriver hyphen manager space start. What happened? cmd cd space c users app roaming npm, right? WebDriver hyphen manager space start. Yes, it is going to start. Again, one more command, cd space paste desktop slash test files. This is the file. Oh, I close that one. Paste it. Yes, start protractor space conf.js. So maybe you'll see the error, but no need to worry because the scenario has not been completed yet. Are we clicking or not? That yes, that has been executed. Let me execute it one more time to see whether the screen is protractor conf.js. It opens the URL, navigates to the URL, clicked on bank manager login, add customer. So that is what it has been executed. That is what it has been executed. Let us go to the data entry part. Yes, let me share. Let me open the script. Yes. What is this question? Why mention by CSS? How we know which locator we need? So, the question is, what I understood here is, I mentioned by CSS. So, how would you recognize what locator we need? So, may I know the exact comment what you are expecting here? I'm going to unmute the mic. Yes, please. Jagdish, what do you think?
Hello.
Yeah.
Hi, sir. In After getting title, we used element by dot CSS
Yes.
and ng-click manager how to inspect all that things. Okay, but how we know that by CSS used or by dot model used?
Oh, you are saying that how can we know that by dot CSS we need to use here itself? We
Yeah,
can't use ng.
in
Yeah.
generally in Selenium, if ID is there, we use by dot ID directly.
Yes, 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 yes. Here
But
CSS is not there, right? How can we recognize that we need to use by dot CSS here? In other
yeah,
parts we can't use by dot CSS. We can go with by dot model like that. That is what your question, right? Yeah,
yes.
I'll let you know the answer about it. Yes, I understood the question. I'll explain you. So here, uh, the main thing here, that is a good question. By dot css, by dot model, by dot id, whatever the things that we have in Selenium, sorry, we have in a protractor, there are different types of things that we have. Basically, when we discussed about the concept of locators, we have 5 things here. One is by css, by id, by name, by model, by binding. By binding, there are 5 locators here. In which locator we need to use? In which case, which locator we need to use? Initially we started with by css, but when we need to use by css means, if there are locators in your screen but you are unable to find out directly by using css or directly by using id, by model, by name, or by binding. But let us discuss in depth once we completed this particular by model. I'll let you know when we need to use by css, by id, by model, by name, and by binding. We'll discuss it now because that is concept related to locators. We will discuss it. So here, let us continue with this by model. After that we will discuss about by css. Element. So we know that element is single element. We are finding it out. Once we click on add customer button, it is going to populate 3 fields: first name, last name, and postal code. Here, this is the screen. This is the screen. In this screen, we are going to capture first name, last name, and postal code. Right click here, inspect element. We have class, ng model, place folder, name, something we have here. Place folder, required type, all these things are there. Here we have a concept called ng model. Ng is nothing but Angular here. Ng, we can say Angular. So first name is the ng model name. First name is the ng model name, f name. So I use the same locator name here, f name. Send keys is as usual the keyword that we know. We are going to send the data directly to that particular field. I am sending the name with the James, and the same thing for L name, last name, ng model we have, L name, and the same thing for postal code, post cd I use the same model here, and I have used the send keys to pass the data, and used send keys to pass the data. So copy this program, save this program, close this one, and I am going to close the remaining files also. Protractor space conf.js. So it has been entered the URL, shutting down. So yeah, the complete scenario not at work, because there is a dependency between these fields. Here you have, here if you observe this one, add customer, and here also add customer is there. So if you are trying to execute the script, one field is dependent on other. Here, once we enter the data, we need to click on add customer button. Here we need to click on add customer button. So let us try to find out this element even, so that, yeah, this is a type submit. This is a type submit. We don't have ng model here, we don't have ng click here, nothing is there, but it is a button. We came to know here we have an option called to select the submit button. Here it is somewhat capturing the field is somewhat difficult in order to use the locator in our programmatic part. So anyways, we'll execute the script completely, but as you discussed, when we need to use by css, by model, let us discuss in that way. I hope till now you understood how we are going to use text field, how we are going to use the buttons. Let us discuss about that by css, by model, to understand it very clearly. If you have any questions, you can ping me in the chat box. Locators, we have basically 5 types of locators: by css, by id, by name, by model, and then by binding. By binding. So by css, by id, by name, by model, by binding. Where we need to use by css, where we need to use by model, so in which case which locator can be used, that we need to concentrate more. Basically, in few applications, you are going to see the css name directly, id name directly, name directly, model name, ng model, binding directly, but few applications will not give whether it is a model or id or name or binding or css. In that case, basically we are going to control, we are going to select that particular locator by using the keyword or by using the locator by .css as a default. As we have id and xpath high priority in selenium WebDriver, here we are going to give the priority for css and model in Protractor. So if we don't have any option over there to select whether it is a css selector or model or something else, just we have an option to click on the button. Just we have an option to click on the button. Here we don't have option to select, here we don't have option to, sorry, here we don't have option to mention css or model id or something else. In that case, by default, we can take CSS as a locator name. That is one concept, one default point that we need to remember. So if we don't have any specific locator that we have in the list of protractor locators, we can use by.css as a default thing. But in that by.css, make sure that whatever the property that you have been selected, you need to provide the complete property in that CSS, as we mentioned for spec dot. Yes, here, as we mentioned, this is the complete property. It is saying that it is an Angular click manager is the name for this, and after that we are performing our action. Click is our action, ng click is system given property for that particular button. So if we don't have any specified locator, protractor locator, we can make sure that we can use the default locator name as by .css. This CSS, if we have CSS name, you can go with the CSS name. If we don't have anything else, you can use by.css name along with the property. Generally, the syntax will be like this. So basically, if we have CSS, we are going to use the CSS name like this. Element dot by dot CSS. We are going to provide the CSS name. If we don't have CSS, then element dot sorry here dot, it is not dot, it is open brace and close braces. By dot CSS complete property name dot user action. This is what we need to provide. For text field, anyways, model will be there. For remaining things, we are going to see the remaining locators. But for some specified items, if we don't have any type of locator, then we can go with this particular format. By.css, complete property name, and then user action, what you are trying to perform. Suppose text field is there. If you don't have ng model, then what we need to perform there? You can go with by.css. Apart from ng model, you'll have some other format like ng class or something else. You can use that particular property. You can make sure that you are going to put that property here, and send keys, whatever the user action, send keys so and so data that you are going to pass into that particular field. That is the action that we are going to perform. I hope you understood these points. So if you have any questions, you can drop out me an email, or else you can ask me in next session.